The air in the forest doesn't feel empty. It feels occupied, like something invisible has already claimed it before you ever stepped inside. Every breath tastes damp, heavy, like the jungle is holding its own lungs around you. The trees don't sway freely here, they hesitate. Even the wind seems careful, like it knows it's being watched, too. You don't see anything at first. That's always how it starts. People expect danger to announce itself. Snap a branch, growl, shift the leaves. But this place doesn't believe in warnings. It believes in silence. And in that silence, something is already moving closer. Not rushing, not chasing. Just arriving at the exact pace you were never meant to notice. A black panther doesn't need noise. It is noise erased. A living contradiction, mass and muscle trained into disappearance. In the wild, it doesn't feel like an animal so much as an interruption in reality. One moment the forest is complete. The next, something is missing from it. Like a piece of the world has been cut out and replaced with darkness that can walk. Its body is built for this kind of erasure. Every step lands without protest from the ground. Leaves don't crunch, they fold under weight and forget it happened. Even the branches seem reluctant to break when it passes through them, and if you were close enough, too close, you'd realize it's not moving through the forest at all. The forest is rearranging itself around it. There are places in India's deep forests where villagers still talk about livestock disappearing without struggle. No struggle, no sound, no warning, just absence where life used to be. Rangers have tracked melanistic leopards near these regions, but even experienced field teams admit something unsettling. They don't get repeated sightings, not because the animal is rare, but because it doesn't stay where it's understood. And that's the first pattern you start to notice. Anything that understands you stops being easy to find. A black panther is not a different species. It is a leopard or jaguar wrapped in excess melanin, its coat swallowing detail until only motion and shape remain. But calling it that feels too clinical, too safe, because when you actually imagine it in the wild, you don't think of biology, you think of absence watching you back. Its strength is not just in its muscles but in its patience. It doesn't waste energy on doubt. It waits for certainty. Your certainty. The moment you stop scanning the tree line. The moment your breathing steadies. The moment you convince yourself there is nothing there. That is where it lives. Because predators don't just hunt bodies. They hunt decisions. In the Western Ghats, there are reports, carefully documented, then quietly set aside, of darker than usual leopards appearing near livestock zones. Not behaving differently in a physical sense, but visually wrong. Too dark to track easily. Too silent to confirm direction of movement. Witnesses describe it the same way, like looking at a shape that refuses to fully exist. And in Kenya, rangers have occasionally spoken about similar melanistic sightings deep in leopard territory. Not frequent, not provable in a lab sense, but consistent enough to be unsettling. One ranger put it simply after a long night patrol. It didn't feel like something moving through the forest. It felt like the forest briefly forgetting how to be seen. Now ask yourself something. If an animal can erase itself from your perception that easily, how long before it learns you? Because it does learn, not in words, not in thought, but in patterns, your pace, your hesitation, the exact rhythm you choose when you feel safe. You become predictable in ways you don't notice. And predictability is just another word for vulnerability in a place like this. There are trekkers who report something stranger than sightings. Not encounters, but interruptions. Flashlights dimming at the same time. Insects going silent in waves. A feeling of pressure around their campsite, like the air itself is leaning inward. And sometimes, footprints appearing where no entry point makes sense. Not dramatic, not chaotic, just present. As if something stepped into existence, checked the perimeter, and left without needing permission. What do you do with a presence like that? You don't fight it. You don't outrun it. Because speed is irrelevant when the thing hunting you already knows where you will stop. The Black Panther's real power is not strength. It is timing. It understands the exact moment a living thing stops being alert and starts being certain. That thin space between caution and comfort. That is where it moves. Its senses are not just heightened. They are layered. Light becomes structure. Sound becomes direction. Scent becomes history written in invisible trails. It reads the forest like something that never needed language to understand meaning. And once it has that understanding, it doesn't need to chase. It only needs to arrive. There are moments in deep jungle where everything feels wrong without explanation. No sound changes, no movement is visible, but the feeling shifts, like the space behind you has grown slightly heavier than the space in front of you. That imbalance is often the only warning anyone ever gets. And in most cases, it's already too late to act on it, because by the time you question it, you are no longer looking at a forest the same way. You are inside something that has already decided how the forest behaves. A black panther does not dominate territory like a roaring predator. It rewrites it quietly. Paths become uncertain, edges become unstable, even familiarity becomes unreliable. And once that happens, you are no longer navigating nature. You are navigating intention. And intention doesn't need to be visible to be absolute. There is a reason cultures across continents turned dark leopards into myth, not because they were misunderstood animals, but because they were experienced as something just beyond explanation, something that didn't behave like prey or predator alone, but like a boundary between what is known and what refuses to be. And that is what makes it dangerous in a way most people never consider. Not its teeth, not its claws, but the fact that it can exist so completely without being confirmed. So if you ever find yourself walking where the jungle begins to feel too quiet, don't mistake that silence for peace. It is not emptiness, it is attention. And in that attention, something is already forming your outline, not to follow you, but to understand when you will finally stop moving like someone who thinks they are alone.